What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Second Street Marvel. And well, dang, see, I wasn't even completely prepared today. I thought I was ready today, guys. I thought I was completely ready. But thank you all so much for being here today for another session of Nerd Therapy. Going to have a very special guest with us. And now I wanted to let you all know that I turned off the monetization here, so you're not going to have to watch commercials or anything through this whole stream. And also, this stream is going to be members only in the chat, and the only reason that we do that is just because we're just having a conversation here to get to know somebody in our nerdy community, learn about them, and just kind of just different experiences that they've had within this nerd universe. It's guaranteed to be a good time, but we do that just because we're really just trying to have a conversation to get to know somebody. It's not to ignore you or anything like that, but feel free, if you are members, to have conversations in the chat. We will be here, if anybody sends in super chats, we will address those. But this is really all about having a conversation and getting to know somebody in our nerdy community. Because a lot of times when we're out there, just on the interwebs, we run across people, we come across people, and do we ever really take the time to sit down and get to know each other, different people's experiences and things like that? We react in different ways, and you know what, that's what this show is all about, just to sit down and get to know somebody. And if you know somebody that you think would be a good fit for the show, or you yourself would like to come on, feel free to get a hold of me at any time. You can get a hold of me anywhere on the channel here on the About section, or you can follow me at Second Street Marvel on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's all there. Feel free to get a hold of me. But without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our guest today. And hello, how are you doing today?
Hello. Hey, everybody.
You
Great
can
to
feel
see.
free to introduce yourself.
Hey, guys. My name's Bosti. You kind of see me every now and again, like lurking in the like Den of Nerds in the Second Street chat. Yeah, I've just kind of been a part of the community for a while, so it's kind of nice to officially meet everybody. Hello.
Okay, and already off the bat, we've got a $2 super chat, or $1.99 from LB from the Lonely Banter. It says, will you answer your door? I'm knocking. Yes. Let me have one of the kids answer it. Please be nice to them, LB, and they will answer that for you. But yes, again, thank you everyone for being here, and thank you so much for taking the time out of what I'm sure is a busy schedule to come here and chat with us today. So,
Yeah.
so where exactly? I guess tell us who is Hi Boshti,
Oh boy.
and what's your
Gonna
place in
just
this nerd
like,
community?
are we gonna just start with the existentialism already? Okay, super cool. Boshi. Okay, so Boshi is basically, if I remember correctly, because this name's been around for a minute, was something that popped out of like a Twi'lek like name generator, and I just some of you may know me from some of like my Star Wars like commentary and stuff online. So um, big fan of basically the Twi'lek species. So the name kind of just stuck, and I just like adopted it as an alias. Yeah, I like it a lot. As far as who I am and what I do, basically I am just a pop culture connoisseur. I have a background in radio journalism and broadcasting. I hosted a hip hop. Basically hip hop history show on NPR for like 2.5 years. So a big passionate hip hop fan. So yeah, big anime enthusiast. I wouldn't consider myself like like an otaku, but like I definitely love it and have for about 12 years. And yeah, like definitely a Marvel fan. And so I just try to I don't know, like offer like elevated commentary, on those franchises and, try to keep things light and humorous, but not really like, I don't know, hide away from like the difficult conversations that have to be had, when exploring like culture and its role in certain franchises, the role of exploring civics, certain politics, representation, like all that. So, but in a light and like funny and, like kind of cute way, if that's possible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of met you through like like the Den of Nerds, and then that kind of went into a little more. There was it's been an interesting journey. Getting how I guess kind of how we met and crossed paths and got to know each other. Um, definitely some interesting times, I'm sure. Um,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
we don't really have to get into that, but in your experience, like how long have you really been like on the internet with all this like nerd culture stuff? Because me myself, I really only got on YouTube and got on Twitter and all this stuff over the past like 2 years, pretty much just like since I started my channel. I never
Mhm.
really like got online and did it. Like I just like was on Facebook and I gave my friends a hard time and interacted and laughed a bunch. That was really about it. I never really done any of this until I came to YouTube about 2 years ago. So where did your kind of journey with this start?
As a content creator, my journey is fairly new. I've kind of always been like in marketing and like advertising and product development. Like that's the franchise, or sorry, that's the like official, like daytime gig that I kind of do. So I'm familiar with content creation, like, but more so like um soliciting like people producing content more so than actually like making it myself. So I would say that officially I've been on YouTube since like November. I haven't really been like a part of like this community for very long, but Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I am pretty like established like in fandom and music, as far as like music and commentary there. Like I've been doing that game for about 5 to 7 years now. So um,
Okay.
yeah, but it's a completely different environment.
Right.
Like yeah, depending on the platform. So
Well,
uh,
how has your experience been since you become a content creator and kind of got more into this nerd sphere? Because like I know you mostly from like as far as I know you, I kind of took you as more of a little bit more of a Star Wars fan. And
yeah, for sure.
so where has your how has your journey been from what's your experience been like from when you started as a content creator and kind of interacting more on that level with people out there in the nerd community to now? What's your experience been like?
Uh, Wild, because I was a Raylo like when I first started out like on the YouTube community.
Oh.
So yeah, that died pretty quick. Yeah, I no, but in like in a good way, like you mature,
Hmm.
um, and basically the YouTube community, kind of surrounding Star Wars. It's a mixed bag. You know what I'm saying? But that's typical, in any kind of like fandom space, because it's like you're not a normie, you know what I'm saying? Like to qualify in this space, you already kind of have to be like really passionate, like a little edgy, say a little crazy. So it's like you have to be willing to do the things that normal consumers would not do, just to kind of like exist in this space. So that was a big wake up call, just like the labor, that it kind of like takes, to keep up in this space. You really have to stand, behind your arguments. You have to stand like really consistent, and like if you grow, like you have to be really transparent about that as well. So I would say it's been difficult, but I wouldn't have it any other way because it humanizes you and it teaches you, a lot about like diversity, you know what I'm saying, and just like appreciating perspective, and really just patience and like giving, space because it's like, me being so new, people had to be really patient with me. So it's like, and I didn't want to take up more space than I needed to. So yeah, I would say it's been bittersweet so far, but definitely a learning experience nevertheless.
Definitely, definitely. And
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I kind of notice is like for me, like I see a lot of the things going on, like here in this realm between like I mean just social media in the first place, but then like here on YouTube and then getting on Twitter and just how all the nerd community reacts. Like to me, especially like here on YouTube, it really reminds me. Everybody acts like you see all these YouTube gurus and everything on here on YouTube that like like here's how you get more views, here's how you do more of this, here's how you do more of that, and you hear all this advice and everything, and you hear all these different people, and then you get out there and you get all these content creators, and maybe there is somewhat of a hierarchy in certain like fandoms and things like that.
Hmm.
And things do kind of sometimes just get just a little bit weird, and we can see here even here on YouTube like some of the stuff that goes down. But when I sit down and think about it, I'm like, this environment is no different than any work environment that I've ever been in. I worked for like the world's largest retailer for like almost half my pretty much almost my whole adult life for the most part. And all the things that I see here is stuff that I see just in work situations as well. So I'm just like, but yet everybody acts like they know this much better, that much better, and everybody's got their advice. But then also, it's the same thing as the work thing is, you start to get little cliques and little crews, and that's where all the, just the little fandoms kind of pop up at. And that's really
Hmm.
where a lot of people come to odds, I noticed, and that's where all the mudslinging starts. And a lot of people act like this is something new when it's just now it's on social media, so it's just more in our face.
Yeah.
So and people are always so quick to react and share their feelings and their hot takes, and everybody always kind of churches it up a little bit. It puts a little bit of gloss on it, I guess you could say. And hey, I'm guilty of that myself. We all kind of do it a little bit. But like how is your experience, like how do you see everything with fandom going on? Because I've noticed even lately, with all the things, like we've got all, like you said, you're part of the Raylo community, and obviously we know there's like the fandom menace out there, and then just all these other different factions out there of fandoms. What has like what has your experience been with all of these different communities? How do you feel the state of fandoms are right now?
Um, fandom is, I think, like a cultural phenomenon that has always existed, as long as, like civilized society, like has existed, there's like a really interesting, conversation about like, influencers and, certain like cultures, that are like, created, like around like certain franchises or products, um, and it really is almost like parallel or like synonymous, to like how people, perceive like demagogues. Like, and it's a really interesting conversation. If anybody's interested, I'll drop the link to the YouTuber that kind of explores this particular cultural phenomenon. His name's Liam, and he's a really brilliant up and coming YouTuber. But so I don't know, like with that kind of granted, like it's always existed. So, as far as like the changes and, just the overall experience, like uh sorry, I'm getting like really nervous because it's just like there's so much activity in the chat. And I know like the first like mistake is like looking at the chat. But no, it's just like it's always been around. So it's a fascinating thing to kind of watch, you know what I'm saying? And like, like I'm fascinated by civics, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm fascinated, by like like the development of like certain like ethics, like codes, and basically people kind of like building like an ecosystem, within, almost like this cult like devotion to like a certain film or like a certain product. It's just like it's fascinating. So it's just like is, and like Star Wars especially is like really fast because I feel like it just hit like pop culture like like so hard, and it's just been like, a catalyst, at least for the last like 40 years. So
Right.
I don't know, like it's just been really interesting to watch, Star Wars fans like evolve essentially, like at like simultaneously to the times, and just seeing how that like affects like the franchise as like a whole. So it's been really rewarding. I'll put it like that.
Right. And
Yeah.
and how do you think what's your how do you feel about how these fandoms and nerds have kind of affected the way these films are made, because we can see obviously that it does, like the fandoms, fans, and just kind of our rabid desire for these things, and us voicing our opinions about them does actually change kind of the landscape of not only the pop culture landscape, but I mean even affects these films, as we have seen especially within the Star Wars universe, but I mean let alone everything else that's been going on in Hollywood.
Hmm.
So like how how would you gauge? Do you think that things are going right now? Because I was having a conversation with somebody not too long ago, just on Twitter. Somebody I kind of talk with back and forth every now and again, um, and you know this person is somebody in the nerd community who a lot of people really don't like. It's somebody I've actually just had a lot of conversations with behind the scenes. But even this person was like, hey, I kind of feel like over the past few months, maybe it's partially because of the pandemic and everything going on, but it feels kind of like things have gotten better, like a little less toxic. People are starting to talk and get along just a little bit better. Have I mean, would you say your experience has been that here over the past just few months?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, to be really honest, I've kind of like taken a like just like a hiatus, like from Star Wars, not like for anything, like serious, just because I'm in the process of like rebuilding a new channel. So I don't know why I said rebuilding, building a new channel that's pretty anime centric. So I just between school and like some of like the community stuff that I've been doing for the den, and really just trying to create enough content, to build like a new anime channel. It's just like I haven't really been as involved in the Star Wars space, but there definitely has been like I don't know, like a cooling, like a stilling, because I feel like the climate for Star Wars, like back in, like even like 3 months ago, was still pretty tumultuous. But now it's I wouldn't say it's unified. I just feel like people have definitely like softened on their positions, because they're starting to like unify around like certain franchises. Like I gotta tell you, man, like Mandalorian was probably the best thing that could have happened, to the Star Wars fandom, because I think it just brought back like a real like unified like sense of appreciation for like what makes something Star Wars. So yeah, I think once that came to a conclusion, there was definitely like a more like holistic, like like, but not like holistic, because that would mean like like summary, but I just mean like a more pure like yearning, for new content. I was kind of like just waiting, for people to essentially get excited again, and that after Mandalorian, after the introduction of the Bad Batch, after people got like their casting for Ahsoka, I feel like the Star Wars fandom really started to wake up and get excited again.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it was definitely something much needed for the fandom as a whole, having something like that. I mean, while it wasn't a complete victory that Disney can chalk one up on the board there, I think it was definitely something
Mhm.
that got a lot of people who didn't. Haven't enjoyed a lot of the stuff that they've done with the franchise since Disney has owned it. I think it really kind of helped bring some of them back a little bit. Made them maybe feel a little bit nostalgic. While at the same time there was still people were still kind of like I'm not fully convinced yet. And hey, that's perfectly okay, because I mean, at least they still have your attention, and they're still getting the response. And that's something that I
Yeah.
look at as, whether there's people out there who are just loving it, and even if there's out there people out there still hating it, there's still people out there consuming the content out there to where they know that they still need to make more. It's just not something that they threw their money away on this franchise. And I think the fact that there are people out there still criticizing it means that there are people out there still wanting this, still wanting it to be better, and those kinds of things. And that is definitely a good thing for them, and for fandom as a whole. And I think sometimes it's easy to lose sight of things like that.
Yeah, no. I don't mind criticism, you know what I'm saying? But I like balance, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't, and granted, a lot of the criticism that was aimed towards, the franchise was absolutely justified.
Yeah.
It's just you I don't know, like it creates like an insecurity, to really have a conversation about the things that you do and inherently, like, about certain contributions to it. Like I understand, like for example, Last Jedi is kind of like a taboo, like phrase, like in the community, like it's not one that doesn't come, without like a reaction, to say the least. And it's like for a time it was just really difficult to even have a conversation about the things that you did appreciate about that contribution to the franchise. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So now, through memes and like gifs and just through like a unique sense of commiseration, I think it's finally been made fun of enough to death, to where people can, like start to have a conversation about it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think people like are just, I think we like as a whole, this community like purged, there are a lot of, betrayals, by key players, that are representatives of, the Star Wars franchise, that were committed, by them against, consumers and, like longtime fans, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that we as a community had to purge, you know what I'm saying? We had to get the venom out and, let it be known that, it's, that it's not really like, basically we have power too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so now that it has been made, perfectly clear, that we can summon the war drums, and we can appropriate our funds elsewhere.
Right.
um they're ready to have a conversation now. And so like, and that kind of openness has basically created, like an environment to where there's much less of a schism in the franchise, and people can just talk about, Star Wars like as a whole. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Yeah, and it seems like that's what they have kind of started to listen to fans and things like that. And obviously there's going to be trip ups along the way. So I think and I think a lot of people, while even some of the most highly critical people out there of a lot of like the Star Wars franchise, and even a lot of the, well, Marvel's not quite there yet. But a lot of it's like the Star Wars biggest critics, I think even them, they are still at the point where they're willing to still give. They're still willing to come around like, hey, like if you make the improvements, they're still willing to give and see that they're trying to make improvements. They're stumbling and falling still, and sometimes that it doesn't look too graceful. But I think obviously these people are still hanging around, so I think there's something definitely. It's obviously a franchise people want good things out of, which brings us kind of to the Marvel thing, because a lot of the same people, obviously like different nerd things out there. If you like Star Wars, chances are you like Marvel.
Mhm.
You're probably doing. Even Marvel has in the past couple of years started to stumble as well with some of their things, just PR related, with obviously some of their actors and stuff, and then just some of the stuff in the movies that people aren't liking as well. Um, do you see? Do you think that Marvel fandom will get as bad as the Star Wars fandom has been, or do you think it has been?
I don't know. And because I'm such like not an authority. But I don't know. I just, because of Stan Lee, like, and like what his like moral like compass like really kind of like was, and like um just like his contributions like culturally, because he was just like he was quite iconic, like in his own right. um I just, I don't know, I just feel like the I just feel like it would be counterintuitive to really, I don't, I, yeah, I don't see it like in the Marvel fan. I don't see that kind of like as rapid of a transition, because I feel like, that like Star Wars, like comparatively, like that turn was like really fast, as far as like the community against, like the like a, you know, the majority, certain proponents of the community against, like these particular representatives of the franchise. And I don't know, I just feel like because there's so much that makes up like the Marvel universe, and that there's always just like, I feel like conversations are just constantly being had, discourse is already being, it's just a constant. I don't really see it getting like that much of like a throttle on it to where it, people just, it just like spews out. I just feel like that conversation would just be really organic
Right.
and would just be a natural part of the course, versus Star Wars kind of throttled the conversation by not really listening, to its consumers. And I just don't really feel like Marvel has that problem, but I'm also like kind of a normie when it comes,
Right.
to Marvel. So yeah.
Yeah, and I feel a little bit differently about that, only because I feel just like the way things have gone, and I don't think it'll ever maybe get as bad with as far as like people's attitudes as bad as it has with some of the Star Wars stuff. But I noticed like even with like some of the Marvel stuff, people still out there pushing back like, oh, I was done with Infinity War, I was done with Endgame, just all these different things because they're starting to do, they're putting some of the representation in the films, they're using like gender swapped and race swapped characters and things like that. And oh my god, and it seems like while it has been somewhat accepted in the comic books, largely by a lot of people, it also seems like it's getting, and it got some pushback in comics, obviously, as well with a lot of those things.
Yeah.
I feel like we're still picking up on the pushback from a lot of that, from what I see online with some of these projects that are getting ready to move forward with Marvel, because of some of those kinds of things, that a lot of people talk about. How do you feel about like some of those things, like with representation and things within the film industry, and especially like these Marvel films or even the Star Wars film? Because we seen that kiss at the end of the Rise of Skywalker. Oh my God! And then obviously what's going on with the Eternals, and what they kind of did with Captain Marvel, and just some of the other things getting ready to come out. I mean, how do you feel about those kind of things?
Oh man, this is such like a tough like question, because like I already know like people are not gonna like what I have to say. So like as far as like race swapping and like gender bending, basically if the change is going to benefit the audience, what I'm saying, like as far as from a like storytelling perspective, like if it just makes the story like touch home that much more, swapping the gender, changing the ethnicity, like the sexuality, all of that, as long as it is in service to the audience, I don't have a problem with it, because again, I'm in it for a good story. You know what I'm saying? Like I will forgive, 100, not adhering to 100% accuracy if it's a hell of a good story. You know, like I'm just being real. So and so when it comes to that, you know, I will make concessions, you know, but and I feel like Marvel um does a better job. I won't say that really any fandom franchise that I've participated in, you know, has gotten it 100% right. I feel like they've just done a better job. As far as Captain Marvel, um, I mean, honestly, I didn't love the Captain Marvel film. I was never really big on the Captain Marvel franchise. You know, like I didn't read the comics. You know, I didn't really enjoy the cartoons. You know, like I didn't really fuck with it. So sorry if that's not permitted.
No, you're all good.
But yeah, so yeah, it just wasn't my vibe, you know, and so I don't know, but I like Brie Larson. I like that she's a troll, you know what I'm saying? But do I think that there are times where they toe the line, you know, with mocking the consumer, you know, outrage, you know, sometimes, you know, but um I also feel like she does a really good job of like basically she isn't like going out of her way, you know, like it's a lot of the way that she carries herself, like the way that she antagonizes like the Marvel fandom. It's subtle, you know, and I respect the subtlety, you know. So like I will take my hat off, you know, you to Brie Larson and credit her because, like, again, she is a hell of a troll, and I take great humor in that. And but no, I mean, like, I don't know. I think it's its own set of issues, but I also feel like Marvel kind of has a history, you know, of commentary, like, or offering commentary on just societal evolution, you know, decade by decade, you know, because they, in the comics and, you know, they're still trying to get it right, you know, in the films, but like there's just certain components of real time, you know, like there's just elements of real time, and they're really good of, you know, peppering that in, you know, to not essentially like take over those, you know, the story to where it's like distracting and like awkward, you know. It just fleshes it out and adds that realness. So I don't feel like there's nearly as much of an agenda with Marvel, to basically put a cherry on it. So
Yeah, and I feel the
um
same. And I think for a lot of these things, like I myself, I don't really as I'm like you. I just want it to be good. You know, when they make the film, if they're gonna do like a race swap or something, I just want it to be good. Now we get see things like they're getting ready to do. You know, everybody's talking, and we have no actual proof of it yet, but talking about Falcon becoming Captain America because he got the shield handed to him and everything, right? Of course he's going to become
mm,
Captain America. You know, and people, there are people out there who don't like things like that because you know it's a a hand me down character and all those kinds of things. And I completely understand those arguments, but for me, I feel like I'm just like you in that sense that I just want a good movie. That's all I ask for first. I'll worry about the rest later. You know, if I feel that it's forced and any of that kinds of stuff later, maybe then I'll gripe about it. But as long as you deliver me a good product, I'm happy. And
yeah.
it's not all about that this argument that a lot of people use too, with when it comes to like the comic books from the movies where people are like, oh, it's a different universe. I don't even, for me, it's not even like that. It's like, I mean, it is obviously a different universe from the comic books, but I just want to see good films when I go see a film. And if you got an actor, whether it was the best actor for the film or not, like as long as you got somebody in the role that can portray this character, to like the way that they should be portrayed, even if it's like for whatever story they're doing, because a lot of these characters are not the exact way that they were in the comic books. As long as they come in and do a good job, isn't that what we really want?
Yeah. And I just, that was my problem with Brie Larson. And like, I mean, I'm probably gonna like get like ate up online about this, but I just think she played the character like really wooden, and like it was just I don't know, like it was just like you're already, tasked with humanizing like an animated character. So it was just like her portrayal, whether it was in her own film, or if it was in like other like Marvel film, it was just it was yeah, it was just it was a square peg in a round hole. It didn't, I don't know, it just didn't fit. And I think that like she was introduced to the cinematic universe like too late
Hmm.
for us to really kind of like develop like a tolerance for that kind of woodenness, so like I don't know, I just not a big fan. And apparently she's a terrible YouTuber, so I need links, I need to see.
Yes, definitely go check out her channel. Now, see, for me, like,
Yeah.
I don't really mind. Like, what she said that made everybody mad. I understand what she was saying. I get what she was saying. I think presentation, the way she presented it all, was probably really bad and turned away a lot of fans. As far as her now, here's the thing: is like as far as her acting in the movie, I've got to defend it. I defend it every time because, for me, and I've got a defense for it too. For me, she perfectly portrayed the character that I know from the comic books. Probably the best portrayal of any of the comic book characters from page to film in any of the MCU. She just seems to nail the Carol Danvers Captain Marvel character. Now, there's a lot of things wrong with the movie, I think, but for me, the one thing I
Mm.
think is, and I want to run this by you because you brought up some interesting things on the last time I ever streamed with you, and we were talking about Birds of Prey because you were talking
Oh
about that
boy.
movie and kind of some of the like the psychological things that they go into in that film
Hmm.
from a certain perspective, and you kind of talked a lot about that, and that's what really kind of intrigued me when you were talking about some of that kind of stuff because they do deal with a lot of those issues where you get like those scenes where they were in the bar and I can't even remember her name now. I only watched it at the theater the one time where she's sitting there, she's silent, and she doesn't say anything, and she's sitting there watching kind of everything go down, and just kind of her
Hmm.
position in being there, and just kind of that psychological side that they show some of those kinds of things in the film. Now, for me, I think in Captain Marvel, it's something that a lot of people miss, and I think I was talking about this on one of my other shows, is that in the movie, she was kidnapped as a human. She was kidnapped, taken to this strange world. They saved her life. They replaced her memories. They were trying to do everything to turn her into just a mindless warrior. So, and
Hmm.
a little bit of her humanness came out in her attempts at humor. And to me, that was kind of like the reason for that because like she still has a little bit of this humanity left, but she's supposed to be this, this warrior out there that's just cold-hearted and doesn't care about anybody. She's supposed to be that piece of wood. She's supposed to be that way, but
But
she also
see,
lost
but
her memories.
here's the thing though, is it's like I didn't get that. She's starchy. You know what I'm saying? Like she doesn't come off as like a seasoned vet. Like my father's a vet. You know what I'm saying? Like he's seen war.
Right.
And I don't know, there's just like there's a certain like age or like presence or like ruggedness. And I just feel like that is what was really lacking. Like there just wasn't enough like jadedness, I
Yeah.
guess,
Okay.
and I maybe if she was cast just like a little bit older, I would have bought it, but yeah, just Brie wasn't giving me that. You know what I'm saying? Like there was no like dead man stare. There was no, it was just like I don't know what feelings are, but they feel weird. And it's like,
Yeah.
like it was just like she put on a suit that was too small, like
Right.
like it was not somebody that had taken countless lives. It was like I need to size up my bra. Like that's how it kind of like like came off to me. And I don't like mean like that like in a sexist way. I just mean like that's a very uncomfortable,
Yeah. Fair enough.
sensation that I'm sure everybody in your chat can relate to.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. And I
So
and I do think you're
yeah.
right too, because like the way she's kind of navigated the whole fandom landscape too. She kind of does like she's kind of like she's like the Donald Trump, I guess you could say. Like Donald Trump is on Twitter,
Oh no.
she is like that. She's like that too. Like there's she if he's got Emperor Trump, she's Queen Emperor Brie, I guess. Because she's pretty
Oh
expert at
gosh.
that, and that's the thing too. Because like you were saying earlier about with some of the Star Wars stuff and some of the fans kind of becoming outspoken there, where we can see what kind of happened with Ryan Johnson and everything like that, where there was a lot of pushback and the way he kind of treated fans and everything. A lot of people don't like that. Were you? We've really only heard her come out and make some comments. She hasn't really come out and been like that towards Marvel fans the same way that he would have been towards Star Wars fans, and so I think there's a little bit to that. However, I do feel that there is a lot of I think there's a perception that she really has done a lot of that. Going out there and making those things, and a lot of it is probably just due to being out there and doing it all in these slight ways that people may not notice quite as much, or that they are just paying too much attention to, um, and really notice it. Because to me, I'm like, I don't know, I don't really see it. I don't really see a whole lot of that trolling that she does. I just see her out there doing her thing, and a lot of people not liking her because of some of the things that she said.
I just feel like it's super meta. Like I feel like it's like a deep cut with her. Like she takes on like certain advertisements and like certain like cameos that she knows is just gonna like trigger like a certain demographic of people,
Right.
and like that to me is like the genius in all of it. Like she doesn't have to say anything, she just has to walk on set and it's already like it's a problem. Like, why are you here? You can't
Yeah.
sit with us. Like, go away, Brie. And it's like I live for it because she's already cashed the check. Like she doesn't care. Like,
Right.
and she gets to continue to show up in like more interesting and albeit like hilarious like segments. Like I'm reading through the chat right now and I'm just like, she's been on Hot Ones, she's done different like car placements. It's just like
Yeah.
it's next level. And so I respect like that, but
Yeah.
and I'm not saying she's not talented. Like I also saw that, like she was great in Scott Pilgrim, but I also feel like she was more age appropriate for that particular role. I feel like
Yeah.
that was a little bit easier for, I mean, granted, the role didn't, require like much depth, but I just feel like it was a little bit like more in like her range. I think it appealed, to like her sense of humor, like, and I think she was able to wrap her head, I think, around that character a little bit like more than I think she really did,
Yeah.
Captain Marvel. So
Yeah.
I
It's definitely something interesting to watch. Watching
yeah.
all the re over Brie. And
Oh, and
go ahead.
I was just gonna answer a question. Right now, my favorite anime is Goblin Slayer, but overall, it's like a three-way tie between Samurai Champloo, Afro Samurai, and Cowboy Bebop. So it changes any given day.
All right.
So.
All right. Well, at least you're paying attention to the chat. I'm busy all over here listening to you, but very
No,
interesting.
it's lit. Like your members chat is like hilarious. Like I'm cheesing like super hard, like because like I'm trying like not to laugh like at how much they're like roasting each other. It's my favorite.
Oh yeah,
Like
the Myrtle Maniacs are funny.
um oh my goodness. I just want to say like hello to some people. I did see your comments earlier. What up, Lav? What up, Kat? What up, RC? I see Maverick in there. How you doing? But yeah, like good to see some familiar faces. Hey everybody.
Definitely.
What's up?
Always great to see him, and I'm sure there's
Yeah.
plenty more people watching as well. Then again, maybe they're not. Maybe they're just mad. Maybe like, you know what, we don't like watching this guy. But so and thinking about how thinking about some of these different things going on in the fandom. Obviously, I know things from my perspective. I'm a man, and we don't really need to get into much else than that. But like obviously, you're a woman. What has your experience been? Because I'm sure your experience is different than mine. Having been in these fandoms here online and things like that. What has it been like for you? I mean, do you like obviously, one of the things I talked to you about is obviously I feel like you're somebody out there in fandom. You're a woman. You're a beautiful woman. A lot of people look at these things and automatically pigeonhole people as this or that, or all these different labels or whatever, whatever they do, whatever people do, because people are weird like that. What has your experience been with things like that?
Um, like honest, like it's not that deep to me. Like I come from a background in hip hop. Like that is a culture that my bad. That is a culture that has its own problems, like with misogyny and, like where femme presenting people, are permitted to like have like safe development and just like a safe place. So it's like you went like I've been involved in that world since I was like 14 years old, and you develop a really thick skin, because it's like up until like the mid 2000s, like beautiful women, like to be blunt, like were kind of perceived as like currency, you know what I'm saying? Like in the hip hop industry. So,
Right.
like breaking into radio journalism was really, like it was a glass ceiling. That was really difficult to like grow in because people didn't really take you serious to be like a head, like an OG, like and to really like know your history and to really like trust your commitment, So it's like it's the same environment, it's just a different passion, and honestly I think that this space is just like a lot more creative, like you have to suffer, like mixtape rappers and like and the dudes like handed out flyers for like their show, and there's like 50 openers and you just like you're just using it as a coaster for your drink. Like that's the most that you get, like like kind of like in the underground, like coming up, in the hip hop scene. But like like in Star Wars, like it's beautiful. Like you get cosplayers, you get music, you get art, you have like so much like philosophical discussion, there's civics, there's you get so much, and like and I'm sure it's like that in any fandom that really is kind of like centralized around a visual medium. But yeah, I just there's a lot more to do, there's a lot more to distract yourself with, in this fandom, and I take my licks, it is what it is. Like you get some lumps, you know what I'm saying? Like you embarrass yourself defending, your opinions. It's documented, so like you got
Right.
to explain yourself, and that sucks, but people understand in this community and in this space that it's all a part of the process.
Right.
And like that is something that like I can't really yeah, like I would never negotiate that. Like I appreciate the accountability. I appreciate that, people are immediate with their feedback, and they appreciate transparency, because that's something, in my former industry that I'm not really familiar with. So yeah, I don't know. It's like it's a different kind of honesty.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of
Yeah.
nice. I mean, having that kind of background, where you kind of came up in like the music scene and stuff like that, because the music scene, I mean, that's something else altogether anyway. Especially
Yeah,
like,
it's a whole other beast.
yeah, yeah. So and like people are really like, as much as like it is in like movies and stuff, like people are really objectified. You know what I mean? And it's pretty
Mhm.
crazy with some of that stuff out there. So like what, like, if you don't mind me asking, did you grow up in like a big city? Did you grow up in a small town? East Coast, West Coast, Midwest?
Um, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Kansas City. home of the Chiefs. I believe that they hold a particular title that you might be familiar with. But yeah, I grew up in KC. It's about, for those that are not familiar with the Midwest, it's about 8 hours from Chicago. It is to the privileged and the initiated, it is the birthplace of jazz. And also to also be initiated, it's also home to some of the best barbecue in the country. So yeah, I Kansas City is not like a big city. It's an agricultural hub. It has its own like really ugly history with systemic racism. So yeah, I don't know. Nerd culture is like it's a really interesting phenomenon there because it definitely kind of like it falls along like certain like economic lines. Like you don't like like there's certain like fandoms that like certain like economic like contributions, like certain participants along the economic structure like that they participate in. And Star Wars was always like a middle class, like, you know, that was something for like people that had like two parent homes and like disposable income. Like that was not the childhood that I had, and that was not the kind of education that I had. So um my fandoms were like animation, like Western animation and like whatever anime that I could get my hands on. And I really didn't get access to Star Wars until I was about 16 years old. But I mean, that was like the prequels, and yo, like all I had to see was Padme's costumes. And I was done. I was done. I was like, yo, like royalty looks like this. Like she has like these crazy, she's wearing a bird cage. Like, are we serious? Like, what? Like, who made this? A whole planet? Who makes these gowns? Like, I
Wow.
had so many questions, and I just, that was it, like hook, line, and sinker. And, you know, for her to be such like a powerful, you know, like character, you know, she was like, you know, commanding and, you know, just, oh, I had never seen anything like that. So yeah, that was like big like that was crazy. That basically the prequels, it changed everything. It changed what I went to college for. Like it was just, yeah,
What?
huge game changer.
Interesting. What did you go to college for?
um I initially started out for product development and fashion merchandising. So yeah, I basically was really good at like couture clothing because I wanted to make those Padme gowns. So like, yeah, I went to school for fibers like initially, and that was cool, expensive, very expensive degree, and I found that out real quick. And so I switched majors, and then kind of just went for like video journalism, and then I got a really solid internship with NPR, and yeah, I just kind of dropped out of college and pursued that because it was just fun. It was way more fun than, you know, cramming for school and starving. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Well, and especially
Yeah.
especially in those kinds of things anyway, it seems like the more social media has evolved and just media in general, it's I mean at this point, do you really need a degree for those kinds of things? To go to school for those when you can learn a lot of that through books and things like that anyway, and you don't even have to go to a college. You can go to vocational schools and stuff like that. However, it is something that I think the experience that some of the stuff that you learn there in school is probably very valuable experience for what's going on within things like YouTube and Twitter and stuff like that too. Because I mean, if that was the case, I mean, just anybody could pick up a camera and go make a big blockbuster film, after shooting a couple movies with an iPhone. There's definitely something to still be said with having that interest in going out there and getting some schooling and pursuing those kinds of things. I'm sure. Um,
Well, I'll say this, like, because I went to art school and like lesson number one, like, don't go to art school. Lesson number two, um, you don't go to art school for like you go to art school for foundations, but it's like you already know what you're passionate about. You know what I'm saying? Like you've already made that like that decision, you know, before you go. You go for the connections. You go for the relationships that you foster. You go for those donors. You go for the gallery owners. You go for people who are going to fund your projects, you know what I'm saying, and basically be like your future sponsors. So like that was why I went to art school. Like no, like you don't go because you know one thing you'll like learn about certain like art schools is like a lot of them, you know, like certain teachers are really bitter, you know, like they don't inherently want you to succeed. They like the element of superiority that they have over you. You know what I'm saying? Because you're in a vulnerable state, you're in a new space, you're there to learn. And if you develop any kind of like sense of like autonomy, you know, it like too early on, you know, it can be a problem for you. So it's like, yeah, like so I will say that like anybody that is considering, you know, investing in an art education, I would just recommend having a really thick skin because it's a lot of politics, man. So
Definitely.
sorry, squirrel, my bad. But
So, I grew up in the Midwest too. Actually, I actually grew up in Kansas, and I'm guessing you probably grew up in
whoa,
the,
what part? What
in the,
part of Kansas?
in the southwest side.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was gonna say because if you grew up in like Strawberry Hill or like any of the metropolitan areas, I was like, yo,
No,
we're
no.
kindred.
Once I got a little older in my teenage years, I had a lot of friends that lived in like Lawrence, Kansas City area, and we used to go there for concerts and stuff like that. Used to go and hang out.
Love
And
Lawrence.
you are right. It is an interesting place, being there in that part of the country, as far as I know, because especially like Lawrence, it's this small little college town, and there are a lot of, you know, like you're saying, things with like demographics and stuff of the population there, very interesting too, which is kind of interesting because like where I grew up at is a small town, and it was really a melting pot, of different races and everything, while at the same time there were still, like I was saying on one of my shows before, is there wasn't a whole lot of black people there, where I grew up at, but most of the ones that were there, like you knew who they were just because there weren't that many. Um, where I grew up at was more so, there's pretty much more white people and Mexicans at the time, and now it's even more of a melting pot now since the last time I've been back there, which was a while. So it is interesting too, seeing how, different things, just how things are, culturally and everything, from different parts of the country. Because like even where I live at now is much different, but even my mom came out here and said, you know, it's really weird because this town that you live at, where I live at, is much the same as the town that I grew up in.
No, yo, like Lawrence is woke as hell. Like so, that's crazy. That you it makes a lot of sense that you live there. Like,
I never lived there.
you're
I only hung out there. I had some
or
friends that were there. They
no,
were in bands and stuff.
no, just there's like a cultural like it's just like there's a wokeness that you know is contagious from Lawrence. So it's just like that makes sense. You would be friends with people that hung out there or lived there. That makes a lot of sense.
Are you
Not a bad thing. I love Lawrence.
are you saying I'm
I
woke?
you might be. That's what you know. Word on the street is that you're like woke.
Dun dun
So
dun.
dun dun dun. But no, I love Lawrence. It's a kooky place, man. It's crazy. Awesome place to go to a show there. I have a lot of embarrassing memories there. Yeah, and I don't know, like Kansas City is what it is. Like it is it's right smack dab in the middle of like the country. So like in a lot of ways it really is kind of like a good like heartbeat, you know, for what this country really is like because it's so insulated, you know, from like Western and Eastern, like agenda and stereotypes. It's kind of just like really its own, kind of thing. And the art and I don't know, it's just like the culture itself, people that are from there, you can always pick them out like in a crowd. Like they're very unique. And I don't know if it's just like the kind manners and just like this like jaded like sense of just like soullessness because you just like you just hate it there so much
Yeah.
as you live there, or and you just take that everywhere that you go. But no, I don't know, like it's unique, and it, I don't know, kind of just like promotes like consumption of like fandom like a little bit different. Like they didn't have like cons there
Right.
until like 10 years ago. So like people like really didn't like obsess over things,
Yeah.
to the extent that they do now, like even like 20 years ago. It's weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know when I grew up, I mean, obviously I'm a bit older, but when I was growing up, most of this stuff wasn't mainstream anyway. Being a nerd wasn't cool. Finding comic books was at the grocery store at Dillon's on the little spinner rack, and that was about it. And I think even where I grew up at now, I still don't think they have a comic shop there. So it would be interesting to see what their resources are in places like that. But obviously, like I've also talked about, in this fandom thing, with everything going on here, what has your experience been like with other people in other fandoms? Like as far as because there's a lot of weirdos on whether you get on Instagram, you get on Facebook, you get on Twitter. There's all of this infighting, and I mean, it seems like you seem to navigate it for pretty well. But what is it? Has your experience been with any of those kinds of things? Like a lot of those, like I said, because I get a lot of these things on Twitter, and I try not to get involved with this stuff. People tagging me and stuff, and there's always these weirdos that answer and they start tagging. There's these trolls, and everybody just starts going back and forth. Um, and I try to not to get too involved in it, but we all kind of get caught up in it sometimes. How do you navigate such things, and what would be your best advice to somebody dealing with those kinds of things?
I was dead ass gonna say cannabis, but that is not an age appropriate response. How I navigate is essentially I just understand that um, there's there's levels, like and you have to respect investment, when it comes to like infighting, when it comes to just like this like diet like culture war within like certain fandoms, you just have to respect people's investment and their participation, like I do not pretend to be an expert, like in Star Wars. You know what I'm saying? Like I have only been participating in this space for like give or take 15 years. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I can't, that is a drop in the bucket to some Star Wars fans. So it's just like me, like how I guess I just remain flexible in my position. Like I am always, okay with being wrong. You know what I'm saying? If there is an opportunity for me to be enlightened, and as long as there's space for me to make my own decision. So it's like, that's all I would recommend to anybody is it's just like, yo, just like respect somebody's expertise. You know what I'm saying? Like if they're, if it's superior to your own, or their tenure of participation in a certain space, like just be mindful of that. And then, like and just only say what you mean, like don't convince, just sort, like if you can't like convince people, like a certain perspective, just like keep it moving. Like it's not worth like tarnishing the entire experience, for like a whole communal like sect, just so you can be right, like like yeah. So that's, I guess that's my recommendation. Like I'm not out here to be right, like I'm just out here to like meet people that nerd like I do.
Right.
So
And
yeah, like it's stupid to make enemies
yeah.
in this space.
Absolutely, and I think that's I feel fortunate to have, I guess, kind of come across you in this whole nerd sphere thing because, as far as I've ever known you and everything, you seem like a really cool person. And just in the little bit of conversations that we had, you're somebody that I totally feel like I vibe with, would be like friends with, and just like I feel like you're kind of on this same level, like thinking about stuff. Because I often talk and I never say these things. To be insulting of others, because I know, kind of like you're saying, everybody has different experiences and things like that. Everybody has different levels, different ages, and things like that. Things that have happened to us in our past traumas, all kinds of different things. But I mean, a lot of times, and I say this and it sounds bad, but there's a lot of people aren't too intelligent. You know what I mean? Not a lot of people are, and I know it sounds bad, but there's a lot of people who don't look at things the same, who don't think about things philosophically, who don't care about that kind of stuff. Everything's very surface level. And like I said, I know it all sounds bad, but I think there are people out there that, I mean, and I hate, not even just like low IQ, but there are just people out there. Obviously, there are, but who are very surface level with things. And I think the when I met you, I was like, man, like you're a real deep thinker. You think about things. You probably sit around and reflect on things a lot, and just think. Because like one thing that always gets me is like philosophy and stuff like that. And just what little I've known you, you really you I don't know. You kind of got that aura about you with things like that.
Yo, I love existing. Like it's dope. You know what I'm saying? So that's I am very mindful of that, when navigating like communities as well. Is it's like, yo, it's hard to exist. You know what I'm saying? Like it is difficult to wake up every day. It is difficult, to love unconditionally. You know what I'm saying? Like these are all struggles that like we can all relate to. So like to be passionate about something, like that is respectable. Like to invest like a part of your income, in something like so small, you know what I'm saying? Just to like seasonally be able to share this like love, with like a bunch of like random strangers and like people that on the internet. That's something. And like education, ignorance, like the whole like I don't know, man, like that's I feel like you can learn something from anybody, and maybe it's because I have far too much patience, for the human condition, and it'll probably be the thing that kills me. But I don't know. Like I've got space and time to let anybody, explain like why they feel like they're qualified to exist in this space. Like, yo, like if it's on your heart, like, speak your truth. Like, it's cool, I got time. Like, but it's just, I don't know, like, because at the end of the day, it's like, it's not really up to me. Like, I just don't feel confident enough, like, as an authority, like, to be able to really condemn how, like, a person participates. If I can't vibe with it, like, I just put some distance between me and what I can't really vibe with, if that makes sense. And somebody in the chat earlier asked me what was on my sweatshirt. I was gonna lift this up. So I don't know if you guys are like manga like fans, but Junji Ito basically is the illustrator for Uzumaki. He's like the OG of like horror manga. Yeah, I would go check it out. His stuff's like super morbid. If you have any kind of like trip of feel like the fear of like the little dots, don't read it. It's gonna make you super sick. Just being transparent. But if you don't have that, you will absolutely love his stuff. It is nightmare fuel. It's fantastic. So
Nice, nice. That sounds good. Yeah, and I think I agree with everything you're saying there too. As far as how you feel about those kind of stuff, like vibing with people and stuff like that. And I think I'm much the same way. As like like. And that's why I want kind of wanted to start the show, bring people like you on too, is because like I think there's a lot of times when even people like yourself, as cool as you are, I think there's probably some times that you don't maybe you don't get a chance to say what you want to say, or maybe you just don't say what you want to say because you know what? There's always somebody out there that's got, ain't gonna like what you have to say, and they're always gonna want to push back and have to say something and do something back or whatnot, which is kind of the reason that I wanted to do this show where we're just having a conversation without all the things going on in the chat and making a big deal about that, because a lot of people do that. A lot of people only listen to respond, and as and most of the people I know out there in the world are just like that, and but you actually have to like set them down, or maybe shake them or give them a slap across the face or something, and tell them like no, like just listen. I don't need you to respond. I just need you to listen, and then think about this, and then we can move forward. Then you share your thoughts or whatnot, and I think it's something funny just out there in the world, and I mean hell, even I do it. Obviously everybody does it, just kind of that same thing, but I feel the same way as you do too though. Like I kind of feel that one of these days, maybe I will be a victim of my own patience with people and all those different kinds of things, because I really do like to hear people's experiences and who they are. Like I'm a people observer, like I watch people, going to Disneyland and seeing those parents, the way they interact with their kids, seeing the way the kids interact with each other, and just all these different things out
Oh,
there
you
in the
got
world.
Disneyland money? Oh, you got Disneyland money
But
out here, AG? Like, let's go to Disneyland. Let's go people watch.
it's been a
I'm just
couple
kidding.
years.
I'm
It's
just
been a
kidding.
couple years.
I'm kidding.
But yeah,
I'm like, let's go.
yeah,
I'm
right.
just kidding.
Believe me, right now I wish I could. But yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I'm that same kind of way too. I mean, I like and one of the things my mother always said when I was growing up, is kind of like like you just like helping people, like sometimes just let it go and this and that, just don't worry about it so much. And I'm like I can't help it, like I think part of it is kind of the way my parents raised me is I just like people, and I like different perspectives and things like that, and just some of the stuff that I went through growing up. I don't mind hearing other people's perspectives. As a matter of fact, a lot of times I relate to some people's things, and sometimes I kind of think like, well, I could empathize with that. I don't really understand it, but I get it. And I try to understand people's positions as good as I can. Oh, what we got going?
No, I mean, oh no, I'm just laughing at Lav in the chat. It's so live. I live for it. No, I agree. Basically, like, I don't know, like, at the end of the day, we're all doing this to essentially like escape from like the humdrum, like of our day to day, So why would we want to foster, like hostility in a space that we're all collectively like escaping, together? Like it's just like it's such a, I don't know, like I'm all about like, presenting like different like of opinions and like varying perspectives, like I think diversity, fosters growth and it sharpens the blade. It gives, those who are at the top, new perspectives and ideas to explore. But I don't know, like sometimes there's that, and then and being defensive of like your ideas and your contributions, and then it's like this almost like cannibalization, where it's like we almost like in a way, like get off on like flaunting, like the wounds that we inflict on our own. And it's just like that's so like I'm not interested in that. Like that's just like that's energy wasted, like I gotta argue with you. I have to like sweat out my edges. Like I'm not trying to do that with in 2020. Like I'm not trying to raise my voice or like bite like my like lower lip, like over anything like fandom related, because it's like at the end of the day, like we're all only here in this space because we love this particular franchise. So it's like, I'm just not willing to get that mad about it.
Right, and I'm the same way. Like I have my feelings the way I feel about everything, but in the end, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I like what I like. You like what you like, and that's okay. We can debate about what we like about them, and that's okay. But when it comes down to like the mudslinging and the name calling and all this and that, and people just like I see so much of this stuff, people acting like children about it. And one of the things I always say is like, think about how what you're doing looks to somebody who's new to the fandom, who's new into this thing, and they see this and like, holy crap, what's wrong with these people, right? And it just kind of makes me laugh when it comes to those kinds of things. Just like, man, yeah, like it gets pretty nuts. It does get pretty nuts with a lot of that stuff. And yeah, I just want to. That's all I want to do. I just want to nerd out. I want to nerd out just like anybody else
Yeah,
does.
that's
But
it. I just want to nerd out with my gird out, like that's it. Like just live my best life.
yeah. And so, what would you say? I mean, because you said at the beginning of the show you have some opinions and thoughts on some things that you think some people might not agree with so much. What's your hottest take, or your biggest thing that you think people would probably disagree with, as far as your like fandoms and stuff here?
Like oh God, no, because I my
You
my YouTube
you
career is so new.
you
I'm
started off
just
as a
kidding.
Raylo. You already told you started off a Raylo. Can you get
I
much worse than that?
Yeah, I mean that's probably like the most controversial thing. Yeah, like because I mean the only other fandom I think that I like loved, to the degree that I love Star Wars is Game of Thrones, and like I'm still kind of recovering from that L that I took, with the series conclusion. So, um, no, I think just the Raylo thing. Oh, and being like a huge storm pilot shipper. Oh, ooh, I love the idea of Finn and Poe being in a relationship together. Like I'm
Oh,
gonna get ate up in the yeah.
you probably you
I'm gonna get
probably
ate up for that too.
you probably you probably replayed that scene over and over again too. And God, what was that? Was it? Yeah, I think it was. Was it in the Force
In
Awakens?
Rise.
The
Oh no, it was
the
I
the
was
show.
more on the Rise where he's like, I can't do this without you.
Oh.
He's like, Captain, Captain. I was like,
I thought it was the shoulder pat and the bite lip about the it was nice to see you again. Remember when Poe gave him that look and he's like,
oh,
hmm.
I remember all of it, and I was for it. I was here for all of it, and like if some of you may remember, like we did a segment on Star Wars Day where we were showing our love for like our favorite like Star Wars like edits, and oh yeah, I had Storm Pilot all up in there, and yeah, no, so I would say those two, but just because like I am such a romantic, and like the chemistry between like Poe and Finn, it was just it's just a fun cute, like I'm like it's cute, they flirt, like they're both super attractive, like there's nothing about this I hate, like let's do this. Like let's just this franchise, this particular like segment and the Star Wars universe is already like burning, like let's just burn the house down, like let's make it fabulous. And so yeah, I was definitely 100% behind that. And the Raylo thing, I have such like a love hate relationship with, because I love I love the relationship structure in uh, the sequel trilogy. I love it, but I the don't love the community, and they're probably gonna already just like have comments waiting for me on Twitter by the time the stream is over. I don't know, like there's just like a level of like intrusion, and that I am not okay with, I don't like the fact that like Adam Driver felt like he had to like hide his kid.
Yeah.
Like that's weird. You know what I'm saying? Like there shouldn't be like that much thirst. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like as like, an actor that you feel like you can't even like share, like this wonderful human, like with the rest of the world, like beyond like limited like glances. Like that's upsetting to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to be like, I don't love Adam Driver that much. You know what I'm saying? I don't love Kylo Ren that much that a person feels that they have to completely change the way that they would normally live their life just so I can participate in loving them in the way that I do. That was embarrassing to me. And yeah, so I just, that's why I can't really like identify with like the community. Like I love that plot device,
Yeah.
but I can't.
Well,
Yeah, you're not going to see me like sporting that hashtag in a bio.
well,
So
for me, I think part of that is, I think obviously in any group, in any fan group, you're gonna have some weirdos, and I think a lot of that was caused by and perpetuated by a lot of the real weirdos out there, because people want to ship the characters. I think that's all fine if that's what you want in your little head canon. It's all good. But when it gets to the point where it's starting to affect like the actors and stuff lives, like, and honestly, if there's any pushback, send them my way, because I think they would be wrong in wanting to come at you about that, because the thing is I think you realize as well as anybody else does, is because you saying that doesn't mean that every single person who is a Raylo shipper out there is doing that and feels that same way. Obviously, there's a certain amount of people in any fandom that have some sort of a disconnect with reality and some of those kinds of things, and taking things too far. So if they
yeah,
come after you and say anything, you send them my way. You send them here. Say it's all Trinity's fault.
happily,
Say it's all Trinity's fault.
happily. I'll just make like a ton of like response edits. It's fine. Like I can hit them with like iMovie. It's cool. Like it's whatever. But no, like I don't. It just is what it is. Like I just I'm not for like reckless, fandom participation. You know what I'm saying? Like stay in your lane. You know what I'm saying? Like don't take it like out of like the escapist fantasy and try to like inject it into reality. Like no like little like random person. Like I know that there's a real like Pride and Prejudice like forbidden love vibe that's going on, but it's like that does not qualify you like access to like a person's life,
Right.
like because you identify so passionately, with that sense of longing and purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, yo, just consume responsibly. You know what I'm saying? Love responsibly. You know what I'm saying? Like, see Adam Driver as other things. So maybe you're not so fixated on the Kylo Ren thing. Like, go see Black Klansman, go see like other stuff so you can, love him as other things.
Yeah,
Like, and
absolutely.
remember he's a human being too. So yeah, like I don't know. It's just yeah, it's a weird space. I'm getting used to it. It's also not like it's not a old person's, game anymore. Like I just feel like this, fandom is definitely like it's a young person's space. So I just am respectful that I'm old and I just I can't love as hard or as reckless as like certain fandom participants can, and I just have to respect that too. So yeah,
All right. Well, I wanna thank you for all your time.
yeah,
Thank you for coming on the show. I'm sure 90 minutes out of your day. I'm sure you're busy. I do want to, again, aside from thanking your time, I also want to say thank you for still being around in the nerd community. It's great to see you kind of coming back and getting involved with things over with the Den of Nerds and stuff like that. Absolutely awesome to have you as part of the community, because I know you're an awesome person, and I'm sure that plenty more people out there are going to see and know that soon enough, if they don't already know who you are and know how awesome you are. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say before we go?
yeah. My channel goes live August 1st. You guys can find me at 8-bit spam. Basically, like I said, it's an anime centric channel. Like basically a lot of recommendations and just kind of video essays on like series that you may know, series that you can stream immediately, other ones that you don't. um I would just like to thank the chat, for being so patient and like for receiving me. Gray, I didn't see you, but I saw that you left. Thanks for hanging out. It was wonderful to have you guys watch. Everybody else in the chat, like, I'm not good with names or like tiny font, so I'm just at everyone. Like, you guys are really great. Thank you for um, allowing me space and like not being like super hard on me. And to whoever said that my ponytail was Pikachu yellow, like, yo, like, spot on, because this was Pikachu inspired. So like, good eye. It's very, yeah, those are definitely the vibes. So yeah, just thanks for having me, and I look forward to doing this again.
Definitely.
Maybe on my channel.
Yeah,
We can
definitely.
wax poetic about something cool.
For sure, for sure. And before we go, we'll
Yeah.
see what everyone had to say in the super chats. We had $1.99 from LB from the Lonely Banter said, "Will you answer your door? I'm knocking." And that was at the beginning. I did get that one. Zen World sent a $2 super chat that said, "I appreciate this content, Trinity. Keep them coming." If you guys don't know Zen World, go check out Zen World's channel. Does a lot of does comic book stuff. Also does some video gaming stuff as well. LB also sent another $2 in and said, "This may have been for you." Bosti said, "Finn is trash."
Cool.
He don't like Finn. LB did some videos
I
a while back called "Finn is Trash," and they're pretty funny.
I mean, like, he might not have been trash if he was Poe's man, but like, we'll never know. Like, this is just gonna have to exist in another universe. We'll
If
see.
he wasn't busy chasing
Like,
around Ray, huh?
yo, like, if he wasn't going to like stupid like gambling planets and riding like space gazelles and shit, like, yeah, like, I don't even want to talk about it because they just robbed my guy. They robbed my guy. So
And
it is what it is.
Jason from the Polyhedral Paradise sent in a $5 super chat that says, "LB just says stuff to say stuff." And Lavis sends in a $5 super chat that says, "Jason and LB just say stuff, but hi Trinity and hi Bosti." And
Hello,
that should actually
hello,
be
hello.
Lavis. I just want to say that should actually say, "But hi Trinity and hi Bosti." Just saying.
Yo, no, the hi is it's included for just an automatic greeting because sometimes people forget their manners. They don't like to say hi. So like when they add, they're just like, "Hi, Boshi." Like, hello to you too. I'm a genius. Ow. So.
That works out perfectly. That works out perfectly. Well, thank you so much for being here once again. You brought in all these awesome people here to the show that are watching. You brought in all these awesome super chats. Now, if there is anybody out there watching, part of the reason that we're doing this show with members only is just so as to not hijack the conversation that we're having here. We just want to get together, get to know members of the nerdy community, and hear just some of their thoughts and things. And sometimes when we're doing that, a lot of times, like as I said earlier, we're just listening to respond, and that's really all that is just so we don't have people fighting in the comments or anything like that, because chances are our members aren't here just to fight in the comments with a bunch of people or anything like that. That's the only reason this is for. Please feel free to be mean and be mad at me in the comments below. It's okay, I can take it. It's not anything to get anybody to have to send in super chats or to become members or anything like that. You absolutely don't have to do that. I appreciate all of you being here and watching this show, just and watching it and giving it a thumbs up or giving it a thumbs down, sharing it with your friends and telling them about it. Is good enough. You don't have to become a member if you don't want to. I totally understand, especially in these hard times. But again, thank you all so much for being here. Bosti, thank you for being here. And well, I guess we'll see you all later tomorrow on Comics, Coffee, and Weirdos in the morning. Later.
Yeah, I'll see you guys promptly. Bye, everybody.
Peace. Oh, did I hit the